just wanted to ask you about the charity and about this whole idea of dementia around football. I wonder if it's something that you as players discuss these days or worry of these days.
Yeah, of course we're wary of it. It's coming up in conversation more and more. There's more awareness, which is good for the players because it means that they're in the best possible hands. And I'm sure the club do a lot of work with the medical guys to make sure that the protocols are there and they're followed. So there is a lot more awareness about it, which is good.
How do you go about sort of dealing with that, having it sort of hanging over you as you continue to try and play the game and play to the best of your abilities?
Yeah, of course it's a tough one, but I think as professional athletes, you're just wired to try and give the best of yourself all the time, and of course there's always a risk of injury. Every time you go onto the pitch, you might get a tackle or, like you said, a head knock in this instance. So of course you have to balance the risk a little bit, but I think as sports people, then you want to try and test the limit and push the limit as much as you can. Of course, you want to do it safely, and that's why the professionals are involved in these conversations to help minimise the risk as much as possible.
Is this one of those things that you're all too keen to support and back, given obviously Billy's name is put to it as well?
Yeah, absolutely. Everybody knows Billy's standing at this club and what he meant to the club, what he meant to the supporters. So it's a brilliant cause, and we want to support that as much as we possibly can at the club. So it's great for me to be a part of that as well.
In terms of this fixture this weekend, you've played in 31 of them. You've lost just 9. Do you remember the 9 defeats more than the others you haven't lost?
Yeah, I think so. I think those are the ones that stay with you the longest. And I spoke about this a few times, but when these fixtures come around, then you very rarely get a second chance to put the ones that you lose, you put them right. So it's important that when they come around, then you give everything that you possibly can, individually and collectively, to make sure it's a positive experience.
This is if you both play, it'll be the 30th game you've played against James Tavernier. You've never played against a player more in your career. It's exactly the same for him. Does it feel that way, that you seem to come up against him so often?
To be honest, I never knew that or thought about it. I think there's too much going on when you get to these games. You're just focused on trying to help the team win them as much as you possibly can. So, football throws up these little funny quirks every now and again, and I wasn't aware of it, but obviously nice to see as well.
You're obviously the two captains. There is a big divide between the clubs. Is there still a mutual respect between the two, just given how often you've come up against each other?
Yeah, of course. He's done great as well. He's the captain of a big side, a big club as well. So you understand the responsibility that goes with that, and just for me in that side as well, what you need to give in your personal life to be able to do the job properly. So of course there's a mutual respect there, but of course both of us are doing everything we can to make our club successful, and when we cross that white line onto the pitch, then you want to give everything that you can to, like I said, make your club successful.
I think certainly back in the day there may have been sort of discussions between Celtic and Rangers captains. Does that still happen at all? Do the two of you ever talk at all? Have you ever bumped into each other?
No.
Do you remember the first game you played against each other was actually down in England, Rotherham against Notts County? It's the only time you played against each other.
That's a blast for the past, that one, isn't it? So, I can't remember what happened last week. There you go. That shows you how long we've both been in the game now. So I'm sure we're looking forward to facing each other again at the weekend.
Callum, do you feel a win delivers a fatal blow this weekend?
It certainly strengthens our position. We're sort of running out of games now, obviously. Our focus is, as always, to try and play our best game of the season when it comes next, and this one is on Saturday. So we'll be trying to do the absolute maximum to win the game, and if we do, then of course we understand what the consequence of that is. It puts us another win closer to where we want to be. So for us, that's the full focus, and like you said, after the game, we'll see where we are.
Pretty commanding performance in the first half. In the semi-final, would you be looking for an improved performance from the semi-final as a whole?
Yeah, we're always looking to get better. Like you said, the first half was really dominant, really good in terms of how we kept the ball, how we kept pressure on, and that attacking half of the pitch as well. The passing sequences were really good. The counter press was really good. Obviously, second half we had to show something a little bit different. So if we can try and, second half, emulate the performance that we had in the first half, then of course that's what we're always looking for. We're always looking for the sort of perfect game if that exists. And I'm sure the manager will push us to the absolute limit on that as well.
There'll be no visiting fans come Saturday. There'll be no Celtic fans at Ibrox. Will that take away from the spectacle, in your opinion?
I think it can a little bit. I think I've spoken about this before. I think hopefully as a spectacle we can sort of get it back to where it was maybe a few years ago, where there was bigger crowds in the stadium. I think it just adds a little bit of something different. So of course we have to accept it for the time being. And my thought is that hopefully we can get back to having the bigger allocation what we've had a few years ago.
What difference? It's a pretty obvious question, but just how different is it when there's no away fans cheering your team?
Yeah, of course it's different. It's a hard enough fixture to go there with fans, never mind without fans. So of course the place becomes more hostile. We'll be looking to use that to our advantage, of course, at the weekend. So it adds something extra. Of course the game's difficult anyway, but you have to go in with that sort of siege mentality that it's you in there against everyone else and trying to pick up a result. So hopefully we can harness that energy in the stadium and use it in a positive for us.
You spoke about one Rangers fullback, the other Rangers fullback, Callum. You had a little spat with him in the last game. Is there something between you two?
No. We're just professionals trying to win for our clubs, and sometimes it boils over, but there's nothing in it. But
it's very unlike you to get involved head to head, literally with an opponent. Is that just the niggle of an old firm game?
Yeah, sometimes you it means so much to you. It means so much to your supporters, and sometimes it can boil over. But like I said, that's football. That's professional environment where you're desperate to win, and you'll do anything to win.
Just finished as soon as the full time whistle goes.
Yeah, that's it. Like I said, during that 90 minutes, everybody's doing the best they can for the club. They're desperate to win the fixture. Like I said, it's professional football. It's high intensity, and sometimes it boils over. But the minute the game stops, then it's back to normal, and there's no issue.
Can I ask you about post-season? Because if you get to the Scottish Cup final, it's June the 3rd. Scotland have got 2 games, 17th and 20th. When do you get your break?
Good question. I'll need to ask that. That'll be after that, but kind of used to that now as well with the internationals in the summer. I've spoken about this before. If you want to be a top player and you want to play in all these games and all these fixtures, then that's what you have to give to the sport. So I'll be happy with a couple of weeks, maybe 2.5 weeks, something like that, and then we're good to go again. Just
in terms of any needle in this fixture, Callum, Bonnie's point, have you found that you've been able to get under the skin of an opponent in this fixture?
Not that I'm aware of, no.
So it's not something you actively say, I'm going to target this guy?
No, just like I said, sometimes it boils up and the atmosphere gets involved, and like I said, the players are just desperate to win, so I don't think there's any sort of premeditated in it, if you will. So it's just purely professional sport, and everybody trying to win.
Instinctive for you then?
Yeah, that's it.
Callum, this Celtic team's been very dominant in particular this season. Do you think when it comes up to derby games especially, there's a little bit more expectation from the fans?
Yeah, I think so. I think, at this club, you play big games every week, but I think when these ones come around, then of course there's an expectation. I think certainly when you play in the home fixture, everybody wants you to dominate and win and win well. So of course you have to live with that pressure. That's the way we want to attack the game. Of course, that's the way we want the game to play out. Sometimes it doesn't happen like that, but our intention this week in training is to train really hard, make sure we're ready for the game, and we want the game to look like how we want to play it. High intensity, aggressive football, and hopefully we can go and dominate.
The manager doesn't give much away coming up to these games, but do you try and give the other guys in the team a wee bit extra motivation in the
It's probably not needed, to be honest. We sort of train with that intensity every day. The gaffer's, he demands a lot of us, and he's got everyone on edge all the time. You're just desperate to do well for him, desperate to be in the team, and that sort of drives the professional environment that we're all striving to get better, individually, collectively. So I think when the game comes, it's that just becomes second nature to us, and adding a little bit in terms of the fixture, then I don't think we need any extra motivation. We understand, how big the game is and how big it is for the supporters.
Callum, obviously you've had the upper hand in the derbies recently, but Rangers' results and performance have improved a lot in the last couple, although you've maybe got a good result. Have you felt their levels come up in the last couple?
The game at home at Ibrox was a tough game. It's always a tough game. Thought we started the game really, really well. Of course, they're always going to have a spell in the game. That's football, and when you play against a good opponent, then they'll have a spell in the game. I think what was excellent about us that day is we found a way back into the game to get the 2-2. And then the semi-final, I thought first half we were excellent. Second half again, they come back into the game. So, we expect similar. At the weekend, they're a good side with decent pedigree in the last couple of seasons. So we have to respect that, of course. But from our perspective, I think we have to approach the game the way that we want to play it.
And there's been a lot of talk about the gap between Celtic and Rangers and the rest of the league this season. How difficult is it to, I suppose, peak for these matches when it is quite a jump up in quality you're facing?
I don't think so. I think the way that we train and the way that we play, I think if you watch us playing, there's always that intensity, there's always that aggression to be as good as what we can possibly be, and I think we drive the standard internally for that. Of course, when you're playing against a sort of direct rival who wants to beat you and try and overtake you on the table, then of course there's an added edge to it. But I think the way that we work, we are trying to drive that standard internally, so it doesn't really matter the opponent or Champions League Cup, whatever it is. We try and take the game to that same level all the time.
Can I take you back to the concern about brain injuries? Back in Billy McNeil's day, there were times when players would spend whole training sessions heading crosses. How different is training now? How conscious are you of head injuries now? And do you ever see a day when football could be played without heading the ball?
Of course, it's different now. I think there's obviously a lot more conversation. There's a lot more protocols in terms of trying to protect the players for heading the ball as much. And I think it's a good thing because I think it helps the players. Of course, the medical staff and the club will be well tied up on the sort of protocols to help minimise that risk. And I think, like you said, football's probably changed a lot. As far as with it heading, I don't know. But as long as the player's safety is paramount to the way that the game evolves, then I think that's a good thing.
Callum, you mentioned the 2-2 game at Ibrox. Kyogo got his first derby goal in that game, but since then he's been really kicking on these derby games. How important do you think it'll be for him to be at the top of his game come Saturday?
Yeah, he's always so important for us. He plays a really vital role in the team in terms of being the central striker, to be in the box and finish off the chances that we get. Like you said, always good for him to get his first sort of derby goal and then backs it up in the cup final. So he'll be feeling good about himself, as is everyone else, to be honest. We're in a good place. So, come Saturday, we've done the preparation and we have to be ready to show up and put on a performance.
Since Ange Postecoglou came in, the team has won 4 derby matches and only lost 2. What do you think it is that gives Celtic the edge over Rangers in these games?
I think generally in these games, if you turn up and you stick to the way that we want to play the game, I think if I look at the games that we didn't win, we maybe slightly came away from what we're about in terms of principles and how we want the game to look. So I think if we've prepared well all week, and if we take that message into the game and perform in the games that we have won, that's what we've done. So, I think that's the template for us moving forward.